favourite person. They were also a spiritual great in my life. And they had a huge burnout. And sometimes we can be so misunderstanding about people when they take their lives. Sometimes, we might say it's selfish. But we must remember, just as sometimes you might break your leg and it needs care, or you break something physically, something goes wrong in your body. Our bodies need healing and nurturing. We need to take care of them. And so can our brains. Our brains are an organ, and sometimes they get broken. And in the same way, they need care and nurturing and, loving. And God give us wisdom when we minister to others that suffer. God give us wisdom. This loss was nothing like I'd ever experienced before. I'd been through trials and tribulations and really, really difficult things, but this was shattering for me and for my family. And at that point, I've never really understood what it felt like to experience anxiety. I've never really had that feeling where something grips you, or, when you wake up and for a few split seconds everything's okay and it feels normal, and then all of a sudden reality hits and you feel like you're living in the middle of a nightmare, like a living nightmare. And sometimes that's a feeling that you just can't escape from. And I lost all sense of what it felt like to feel normal. I lost all sense of what it felt like to just even be happy, to feel joy. I never lost my faith in God. I've always known that God is in control, that He is above all things, but it took me a long while to get over what had happened. But Nicky Cruz, in his book, he talks about when he first became a Christian, he said that he was so messed up, and he said he described his heart, but when he met with God, it's like his heart being taken and God put it on an operating table. And he said, God just gently mended my heart and gently sealed it back together. And that's exactly what happened for me. God just, as I'd come and worship, and week after week, it was just like I could feel God doing something in my heart in the presence of God, and just like some sort of spiritual, supernatural operation. And I used to pray, I don't understand, Lord, like I don't get it, I don't understand. I don't understand why you allow some things to happen. But I know you're good. Amen. I know you're worthy, and I know you don't change. But if there's any way you can use my life, as broken as my heart has been, then Lord, use me in whatever way you want to. And one Sunday, probably, I think it's a good year or so ago now, we were driving to church, and we came through a tunnel. I think it might have been like the Limehouse link, and as we came literally out of the tunnel, I had to stop and brake abruptly because this lady threw herself practically in front of my car. And she was saying, I don't care if I die, I want to live. Oh, sorry, I don't want to live. She was desperate, like she'd come to the end of herself, you could say. And she went to the car next to me, as if like throwing herself in front of the car because she didn't want to live. And people were kind of slowing down, looking. It was like an inconvenience for them. And I called her over and just began to talk to her, wind down my window, and I just explained to her what had happened in my life. And she couldn't believe me. She began to cry. And she shared about her life, about that she'd had abusive parents, she'd had a really difficult childhood growing up, that she had kids that didn't even want to know her, kids that couldn't even see her. She was an addict. And she was just like, my kids don't even need me. What's the point in my life? I don't even want to be alive. And I remember Maya said to her, if you were my mum, I'd be devastated if you died right now. And she sat in the car and just shared the gospel with her. And at one point, we were going down a dual carriageway and she got out and started doing the same and throwing herself in front of cars. And I was on the way to thinking, do I carry on? Do I pick her up? So we turned around, went back and picked her up. And I just said to her, get back in. I just explained to her, I'm a Christian. It's not a coincidence that you stopped in front of my car. It's not a coincidence that what you want to do, the same thing, I've lost somebody in the same way. And I just began to talk with her, and I said, what is it that I can do for you? What do you want? Because the state that she was in, she never would have been able to sit through a church service unless God just did something miraculously with her. But she just said, I just want to drink. I just want to drink. And at that point, it wasn't my place to judge her. So we went to Waitrose, and she caused such a commotion in there, and she got her bottle of wine, and I just sat with her on these steps outside, and I said, listen, you can come with me to church if you want, but let me pray for you. And she was like, I don't want anyone to pray for me. I said, listen, I just bought you a drink tonight, you let me pray for you. So she was like, okay. And she accepted that. She cried and she was touched and she thanked me. And I don't know where she is right now. I don't even know if she's alive. But I do know at that point, she was in the right place at the right time. And it wasn't a coincidence. It was something that was moved in me with compassion because of what I'd gone through and experienced. Had I not gone through that, would I have pulled up and rolled my eyes and thought, what an inconvenience, how selfish? Would I have just felt sorry for her? But Jesus doesn't just want us to feel sorry for people. He wants to use us to minister to those who are in real desperate need.